as usual, IT never sleeps, right? It's been a long weekend with the Kaseya ransomware breach and incident, right on top of the PrintNightmare patching situation, a few days before. I think for us as MSPs, it is super important to always be paying attention, right? Whether you're a Kaseya shop or not, right? Whatever tool set you're using, learn from what's happening in these, pay attention, and continuously adapt. It is now more critical than ever to really lock stuff down, right? And it's gonna mean that our jobs are harder. It's gonna mean that we're gonna have to jump through hoops to be able to get more things done, right? But we have got to really lock things down to the best of our ability. Of course, trusting our vendors, leveraging even more layers and more, again, hurdles and, least privilege, and always updating, constantly patching everything that we're using. Of course, this is more work and it's more of a pain in the butt, but it's clear to me that this isn't, stopping. It isn't letting up at all. And if we don't kind of lead the way by enforcing the best practices, by locking things down for us as well as our customers, right? And in some cases, being the bad guy that says, no, we're not going to allow it. You need this layer. You need this level of protection. And frankly, we're not going to work with you unless you do these things that we're recommending, right? We need to be the doctors in the room, giving the recommendations and insisting on them, instead of letting, our own internal stuff go by the wayside, as well as, the controls of our client networks. We've got to be the last stand on this stuff to, really start to prevent these kinds of breaches, incidents, and this ransomware stuff from proliferating anymore. I think it's a very challenging time. It's a very interesting time. But I also think there's a lot of opportunity for, those of us as really security focused MSPs and MSSPs to stand above all the rest, and, do the right thing by our customers in the industry to really, show force against this stuff that's happening. Our RMM tools are super important in this industry and super useful, and they help us to do so much more with less hands. But I do think it might be time for a rewrite of how that software works, what it can do, or how it's engineered, right? The trickle-down effect is very dangerous. Now, I believe there's a lot of policies and procedures and best practices that could be and should be implemented. I think there's a lot of things that the vendors can be doing to keep these things from happening. But nonetheless, it's definitely time for a relook at, RMM solutions because of this unfortunate trickle-down effect. Over the last 2 years, 12, 24 months, we continue to watch the industry. There's a lot of great vendors out there who are publishing checklists and documents and best practices around this kind of stuff. And it's super important to implement every single thing you can, right? You've got to inhibit access and lock things down and control the permissions. And then I think it's just about rolling out more and more layers. We have a multi-vendor, multi-layer approach, right? Instead of having all of our eggs in one basket with one vendor, we've got about 10 different vendors. And I believe that's good because then there's more sets of eyeballs watching our back, watching what's going on and paying attention. And then the hope, is the old Plinko game that, hopefully with all those different layers that, it doesn't hit that $10,000 jackpot prize at the bottom. I don't think anything is going to be perfect, but I do believe in doing everything you possibly can to prevent it versus sit around and wait. Unfortunately, I think that there's a lot of people in the industry that are not putting in the work. And I think, it's going to lead to some bad places for some people, unfortunately.